Nothing like a little Uncle Roger to get the podcast going. We're back, guys. It's Modern Relics. I'm Angel. He's Lucky, and we're here again. We didn't go anywhere. That's the problem. We didn't go anywhere. We just didn't come to the internet, and it wasn't you. It was us.
It was me. It was me.
The truth is, like, in reality, I started a new job. Lucky had a big move. Like, there's just been a ton going on, so it was the right thing to do to refocus on life a little bit. Summer's here for me a lot. What's been going on, man?
You more than us. Man, I can't even begin to tell you how much has been going on. But I'm super glad that summer is here because I'm a summer guy.
Yep.
I'm not getting as much summer as you. I think we are at a perfect like 76 right now.
Oh, it's great.
And yeah, with a breeze coming through, and it's nice. You are
it goes
in the
from
molten
like
lava.
Yeah, it goes from like 107 to like an absolutely frigid 105 at night. and you walk out to the garage and you're like, oh, it's still.
Yeah.
And then you walk back inside like, I'll just stay. I'm an indoor cat for right now. That's what's happening.
I mean, I think it just comes standard that you guys have like blistering air conditioning in all the houses around that area. Correct?
Oh man, if you want steady work, AC repair and year-over-year maintenance, just checkups, dust outs, make sure all the stuff's working on it so it doesn't break down. You will not be without cash in this environment for sure.
Yeah.
The best part though is like we get like the cost of living here is way less than it was in Seattle. Until July and August. And if it's a hill you're going to die on, you're going to pay it. But your electric bill is $40, $50 a month all year long until July and August. And then you're paying $700 a month. And you're like, that went up a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have like a swamp cooler, like one of those, you know, it trickles water on the media and then it just pulls air across it so it cools it off. That's fine to open up the downstairs and because that's installed in the garage and run it from the garage with the garage door open until it's about 99 or 100 degrees. And it does a good job and it's pretty cost effective. Over 100 degrees, it just turns into a swamp. And you're like, now it's hot and muggy and no thanks. So let's just turn that AC on and just live with the results. So yeah, it's brutal. And it quickly too. It's usually not this hot until July. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's here now. It's like, I'm here. So yeah. Anyway, enough about me.
Well, we just, like we had mentioned previously in the last episode, is that I was about to have a move. Yep. Well, that move happened. And we moved just across town from Post Falls back over to Coeur d'Alene. And it was a brutal move. Like, I thought it was going to be an easy one this time, but it was not. And it was just expensive and long and arduous and full of strife and chaos. But it is complete. It is done. We are out of the old place and into the new. Mm-hmm. Got this room set up finally. It took a little while to find my laptop and a bunch of other stuff. So like I could have done it last week. However, I couldn't find, like, everything was buried in the garage. Right. So I couldn't find a lot of the stuff we needed. So as we started trickling stuff in, I finally found stuff. We set up the room. Everything's good to go. It's not fully set up yet, but
it's like the Death Star. It's not fully operational yet.
Not exactly, but it's enough to blow up Alderaan if we need to.
So that's all you need.
Yeah. But that being said, we're done. I'm very happy. This place, strangely, for the first time since I can't even remember the last house we've had, actually has air conditioning in it.
Yeah.
So not that it'll be needed for 80% of the year, but when that 20%, it'll sure be nice to have. But
so are you at the point in your life where when you move into a new place, once you're done with the move and you've arrived, it's like, cool, this is home now? Or do you still fly out of bed in the middle of the night because there's a weird noise your house makes you're not used to yet and turn down the wrong street or head to your old place because you just don't feel it yet? Like, which is it? Are you just like, I'm here, let's unpack and this is it now? Or does it take a long tail
It's a little of both. Like
Really?
there's been a
Yeah.
couple of times when I went to go turn on the freeway to go back to the old place. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's not where I go anymore. But then it's filled with joy because I'm like, oh, I'm actually closer. I'm
All
just like
right.
right around the corner now.
Well, that's nice.
But I have felt more comfortable in this place
Hmm.
in a shorter duration of time than I did at the other place the entire time we were there. So
I
the
think
other
that
place
means it's a good move, you know? Like,
yeah.
there were some little things like when it gets scorching hot and then the AC's on down here, you can actually hear the walls like change shape a little bit, like the expansion,
Yeah.
contraction of stuff, like especially with the AC because it's a metal housing, you'll hear it pop or ting or something. And then every once in a while, for some reason, the refrigerator I bought when I moved here, like the ice in the ice maker will fall down into the collection cup and it makes this horrid, like crackling thud. And I didn't know what it was. And I'm just like home alone, like trying to figure out what the hell that noise was. But it took me probably a good, I don't know, 2 months or so to be like, yeah, this is home. So
Well, this place is dramatically quieter than our last place was because
yeah.
we had a very busy thoroughfare behind our house.
Yes.
And they had the hedges up, but it didn't really cut the noise really.
Yeah.
And it was kind of on a hill too, so like all the redneck trucks would just rev up them, and the kids were racing down it in their race
Yeah.
cars, and it was just always loud. And then we were surrounded by train tracks, and
Yeah.
so all hours of the night just honking, and you could hear the and the house is like, this place is dead quiet.
Nice.
We're in a neighborhood. There's neighbors all around us, but yet there's no noise, and it's been super nice. I've been very, very happy. It's very peaceful.
Nice.
The neighborhood we moved into is kind of a double cul-de-sac where you come in and we're like at the end of a cul-de-sac with one little outlet that is another cul-de-sac. So there's no through traffic. But
Oh, yeah.
all the houses have families. They all have American flags and a couple of Gadsden flags. So we're like, oh, we're in the right area. And then like there's some kids down the street that apparently homeschool and have hockey nets out front between the ages of
perfect.
9 and 17. So Oliver's going to be out there playing hockey with some boys, you know, all year long. This is kind of a place that I think we're going to want to stay for a while.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
and
great
it
to
feels
hear.
comfortable, so it's a good move.
I was about to ask, how are the neighbors? My neighbors are awesome.
Yeah, so far they're really good. So our neighbor over here has a Trump flag, and then like right on his front, you know, on the front of it. So there's obviously no HOA here.
Yeah.
But there's like 11 American flags out on the front of houses
Right.
out front here. So, and then it's the hockey family that actually has the Gadsden flag out front. So I'm like,
That's great.
I think we landed right where we needed to be. But
Speaking of
yeah.
old guy corner talk with like landscaping ideas, so the sun sets in the front yard for me. So it's like, and you'll see it when you come visit, but it sets down in the window directly in front of me in the office. So this room gets hot because I'm burning tons of computers and stuff. And I'm like, I need to get a tree or some sort of shrub or some sort of plant or a big flagpole. I don't know. I gotta figure this out. And the water main goes right through the middle, so it's very difficult to like block what I want blocked where I can get some shade, right? And it's important. So I thought about it, and then I figured, here's what I want to do. I want to commission a sculptor to pour me one of those Rio de Janeiro Jesuses. You know what I mean? With the hands out.
yeah.
Except the twist, I want Korean Jesus where he's ripped, where he has like a full 8-pack. You know what I mean? And then because it'll be looking right at both of my neighbors that I talk to all the time, right at their front yard, it just this obscene like Rio de Janeiro fusion Korean Jesus. I think it would be the
Ripped
best,
Korean Jesus.
dude. And it'll block the sun in creative shapes. I think it would be amazing. So
I think that's
it's a bit of a work
I
in
think
progress.
that's a
but
solid investment.
yeah, I also don't have an HOA, so I'm like, I could probably get away with this. So when I got here, I tried to petition the city to allow me to dig a moat just so that it would be on public record that I asked for a permit to dig a moat. They said no when they realized I was being serious. And she's like, what are you going to put in there? I'm like, I don't know. Piranhas, alligators, what do you put in moats?
Yeah.
Like, I'll figure it out. She's like,
moat things.
no, you can't dig a moat. And I was all right. You know. Anyway, I'm glad the neighborhood's cool though.
Yeah. Yeah. So move's done, but I mean, the immediately on June 1st, we launched, like, we got done at 7 p.m. cleaning on Friday night, cleaning the other house. And then on
The night
Saturday
before you had to
morning,
leave.
yeah,
Did that
yeah,
feel like completing the Amazing Race or something?
very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then because not only that, we knew that like we couldn't even do anything the next day because on the first, that Saturday, we absolutely had plans, which was
Yeah.
my daughter Kate graduated from high school, and so we had to
Congratulations.
go to, oh dude, it was so great. I don't cry much, but man, I was a sobbing nightmare in
Yeah.
the middle of this thing. But
You
we
guys have the cutest pictures too. I saw your storyline on social media of like when she was wee small and then first day of school to like present day stuff. It was really great. Whoever put that together.
that would be my wife.
Yeah,
My
she
wife
did
put
a
that
great job
together.
on that.
And Kate picked the song, so the
Yeah.
song that went along with that. And that's what they showed at, because she homeschooled, so there was only 7 kids that graduated, and but it still was like an hour and a half because homeschool moms do what they do, and it was I was kind of, I didn't want to make a big deal because I didn't want to ruin her day, but I was kind of mad at the situation because at the last minute they decided that the parents were going to do speeches
I
for
hate
each
that
kid.
shit. Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not about us. It's not making it about us. It's
Right.
about the kids. So, and I thought, because we were moving, we were busy, and I'm working. I thought that I was like, it was going to be one of us, and Erin said she was going to do it, and I was like, okay. And her name being Barnard was the first on the list, so we were up first. So we went up there, and Erin said, "Hey, sorry, we just went through a crazy move, but we love Kate," and said this really kind of pretty thing, and then I just went, "Yup." And then we just walked off the stage, only to be followed by 6 other groups of people who got up there, and both parents said it. So I was the only dad
Yeah.
who actually didn't, or the only parent who didn't say anything.
Right.
And Ray, one of the girls at the end, her mom came up and she just got too emotional to really convey anything, and her father wasn't around. So fortunately, it wasn't just Kate, but like,
Yeah.
it worked out. It was a beautiful ceremony. They did a really good job. She is excited to be done.
I bet.
And so then we had set up a party. We reserved a park and had a barbecue and invited a bunch of people. And one of the things that we did for her barbecue is we invited 2 people that really meant a lot to her from the Seattle area, her daycare lady, Pammy, and Whitney, who worked for Pammy and was also one of our babysitters. Who they basically both helped raise these 2 from the time Oliver was born on,
Yeah.
till we moved back over here when they were 7 and 10, and haven't seen either one of them since prior to COVID, and they both came out.
That's
and
cool.
Surprised Kate and surprised Oliver too. And man, the amount of tears that those 2 started gushing when they saw those 2 people show up, and it was great. It was just a really great little barbecue. We had a bunch of fun. Kate got a bunch of cards and presents and all that kind of thing, and it went over really well. And then we were exhausted from that, and went home to the new place, crashed, and then got up for church the next morning, and just the ball kept rolling. And so we've just had a very nonstop kind of go scenario since the last we've been on here. It's been, I don't think
Yeah.
I've had a minute to sit down and rest, but glad to be coming up on our soon-to-be vacation,
Yeah.
which is next on the list that I want to talk about. We're coming to visit you. And
Yes.
it was a little sketchy at first. I wasn't sure if it was going to happen, but it is, and I'm excited.
I'm excited.
And I'm going to get to hang out with you, and the next time we do a pod, we'll it might be in 2 weeks because we're going to be no, we're going to be leaving on Sunday. Nope. I think we're the next week. Next Tuesday, we'll be there doing a pod.
In the flesh, in the brisk southwest sunshine.
Yeah, and I'll be hanging out with the lights and the cool pictures.
Yeah,
and stuff.
we can set a spot up. I thought about doing something super pretentious where we had like brandy snifters in the fireplace going in the background, and we're just sitting there
I like that
with monocles or something. I'm still working it out, but yeah.
Okay, I like all of this.
We're workshopping. Yeah.
But yeah, the next time you folks will be seeing us, we'll be sitting in the same room, sweating probably.
Yeah.
But it'll be
just
nice.
Unplug the heat for 2 days before you get here. I don't know. It's just the sun. What are you gonna do?
But yeah, and we're gonna be going down there, and I'm gonna be not only visiting you, but visiting my grandmother, who I haven't seen since. I've seen my grandmother one time since I was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. It's my father's mother, and it's my last remaining grandparent. And I saw her 10 years ago when I was 35. Oliver was 5. Kate was 8. Was the last time. I mean, so it's time.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. And she lives in Havasu, so it's not too far from you.
Right.
And so we're going to kind of do a senior trip / going to see my grandma and maybe some aunts that I haven't seen in a long time and a couple of cousins. Take Kate and Oliver down to the Vegas Strip for a day and then just basically hang out with you by the pool.
Yeah.
And probably eat meat and have a good time.
Get the kids a few cocktails while you're downtown. Usual.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the ones that they hang with a necklace around the neck, like one of those big dumb ones. Yeah.
The whale bone,
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. We need that. And what really was weird is that we've been planning this trip for a while.
Right.
And even up until today, going over the dates, calling my grandma, getting everything all ready to go, calling people in Boise that we could stay at while we're on our trip down. Stuff like that, getting all that stuff arranged. It did not occur to me until today that my birthday is going to be while I'm there.
The day you leave, I think, right?
No. It'll be 2 days before we leave.
2 days before we leave,
Yeah, the 23rd. So, but yeah, I totally spaced that was even in that time frame. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, wow. And apparently we're leaving on Father's Day.
Father's Day,
so,
right. Yep.
Yeah. So, but yeah. It's gonna be interesting. I'm hoping that we can get to Boise early enough that I can have In and Out for dinner on Father's Day.
Oh, we got one down here. We got.
Oh, I know you do, but they got one in Boise too.
Yeah. So, they opened one in Idaho. No way.
They've got 2 in Boise now.
Okay.
So
sick.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited.
Well,
get down there and do that.
Now the recently graduated daughter drives. No, you could be like, it's my birthday. You're driving. Make her drive. Just chill in the back. Play video games.
Yeah.
Fight with your sibling, poke her in the back of the head while she's driving. Dad stuff.
Yeah, we now have 3 drivers.
This is great. Is Oliver just dying inside? God, I want to drive.
Much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've got to get him out more. Like now
I'm
that
the only
move is all
one.
done. Well, and we got Kate's truck is back up and running. She needed a new battery. Got that taken care of. So now we've got the 3 vehicles again. So now I can drive her or have him drive around and go to get him more established in that. He wants to get a new job. He doesn't want to work at the shop anymore. And quite frankly, we don't want him working there anymore. So, he's got to go to he wants to work in a mechanic shop, so like Les Schwab doing tire busting kind of stuff. He wants to learn that, and I'm like, okay, law school and a mechanic. If I can have a lawyer / mechanic in the family, yeah, absolutely. I'm all for it.
2 highly valuable skills to have in the family.
Yeah,
it's good news.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I'm excited, man. I mean, a lot's gone on, all of it productive, right? All these things are turning out exciting. It's just a lot all at once,
Yeah. Yep. But we survived. We're we're doing good, and we're on our way down. So that's all that
Nice.
really matters. So, but how about you? How's things been going for you?
Things have been going well. Said at the top, started a new role, same place, so still working over at Redacted. It's been interesting because you go from one end of the spectrum where you're doing more business centric things to going back into kind of raw technology related things. And you got to deal with all kinds of personalities and technology. And it's just been many years since I've done that. So it's kind of an adjustment period. When you get into like arguments about what's best for a particular project or a thing that you're working on, and you've got somebody who's probably smarter than you are in the technology that they're servicing that wants it done their way because they're smarter than you, kind of thing, even though it might not fit the bill. It's there, it produces interesting natural conflicts that are nothing I haven't lived through before. But I don't know, when you deal with a lot of engineers, I call them the booger eaters. You deal with a bunch of booger eaters, and it is what it is. I'm sure they hate, dealing with non-booger eaters as well, whatever they call me. So that's been fun. Obviously, the weather turned a little bit.
That guy totally doesn't eat his boogers. He's not one of us.
Yeah, like, come on, man. You used to do that. What happened? What changed, bro? There hasn't been a whole lot of excitement and drama on my end of things, to be honest with you. A lot of stuff.
I beg to differ because you did something that I was very jealous of.
What's that?
You went to go see a certain Mr. Dr. Jordan Peterson.
I saw Jordan Peterson.
I gotta hear about this because I was in the middle of all of my chaos when you sent that. I was like, oh man, like I want to hear more about this, but I don't have time to even ask. So
yeah, it was great. I frequently listen to podcasts and sizzle reel breakout clips on social media because I subscribe to many of his channels and stuff. So it pops up, and I was doing something, listening to a podcast. I think I was cooking dinner, and then they had an ad break, and it was an advertisement for like we were selling tickets for his book tour in Las Vegas. And I was like, what? So like I stopped cooking and I like get on there and I look, and the tickets were super cheap. And it was like a 1-night run, and then he was coming back through town some other point, but it was a night that I could do it. Late show though. Like he didn't start till 8 p.m. and it was like a work night. So it was like, oh, I'll be out here for a while. So I go. It was very interesting to see a non-entertainer type of show at this particular venue built into the Park MGM, where you'd expect it's like, okay, well, where are we lining up for Bruno Mars or Dr. Jordan Peterson? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those, like, this is an interesting place. So I get in there, there's almost nobody in the theater. And then the woman that sat 2 rows in front of me had so much perfume that like when she actually stood up to walk, it would hit you and you're like, oh my gosh. Then it starts filling up and you start to realize, oh, this place is sold out. It's packed. And I have one chair that no one has sat next to me on in this, stadium seating or whatever. And then like the world's largest man, maybe second to largest man, is like beelining for that seat. And I'm sort of like next to him and behind him at the same time, You're just kind of like, it's gonna be a long hour or more. He had a really interesting opener. There was a guy that just played, like, he was classically trained as a guitarist and then wrote pieces that he mingled other like known composites into this grouping of music for about 15 minutes. And all he did was play guitar, but it was like, it would break into like parts of Interstellar, that very popular music piece from the movie Interstellar and stuff like that. And some British dude. And then he left. And then Michaela comes out to introduce Jordan, and she shares with everybody her salvation story that had happened 2 weeks prior to the show, where she was like, she's like, I get why they call it being saved. Like I needed saving and I just didn't see it. And like, I've always, logically all this stuff. So then she invites her mom out. Tammy comes out. Everyone cheers. She waves. She says, hi, it's great to be here. Thank you. And then immediately turns the attention and invites him up. And he proceeds to mention it's the first time he's ever been in Las Vegas ever. And the reason for that was because nobody would book him, especially like just before and during the pandemic, because he was too controversial for their venues. And he started laughing and he's like, you know, organized crime, that's fine. You know, gambling, whatever. Peterson, hell no. You know, so, but it was really cool.
That was a wild take.
Yeah. And it, very thought provoking. If you haven't listened to Dr. Jordan Peterson before, it's very hard to listen to him because the relational points that he makes to trying to describe something will often go 4 or 5 or 6 layers deep, and then he bounces back to the point that he was on. And so that's just kind of how he lectures. But it was awesome. It was a book tour, which I thought was weird. The book doesn't even come out until November of this year, that they're doing the book tour ahead of it. But it was the book tour is We Who Wrestle with God, which
interesting.
I'm very interested to read.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and
he does his audio, like when he does audiobooks, he reads his audiobooks.
He does.
And yeah, because I listened to the 12 steps.
Yeah.
Or 12 rules for life, right? Mm-hmm. And I listened to that in its entirety on our trip to Florida or something like that. And it was phenomenal, but it was even better coming from having him read it.
Right.
Because I mean, in normal fashion for him, he got emotional and choked up.
Right.
While he was actually reading it. And he knew where the inflections were supposed to be, and he knew what the words were supposed to mean.
Yep.
And it just made it so much more poignant. But it was a phenomenal read. It was, you know, oftentimes he gets a lot of flack for basically just repackaging common sense, but I don't think that's the case.
Not honestly, if you read Maps of Meaning or do the audiobook, like that one.
And
yeah.
And also, I think that even if that was the case, man, our society could really use some repackaging of common sense anyway.
Yeah,
so
100%.
So I don't, either way, the value of that man and his mind and what he is contributing to society by basically pointing out,
right,
hey, this is the natural process of things, and this is the natural process of the human mind and of us as a society. Why are we straying so far from it? Mm-hmm. And here's how to get back to it. And it has created such a wave for especially young men, but even young women.
Right.
But I mean, obviously he's got probably 70 to 80 percentile young men who are resonating with his message. But you know, he obviously has something to offer to a very large group of people who are looking for something. And he's been on the precipice constantly because he did all of his biblical teachings.
Yeah, I went through the Exodus thing and stuff that was on the Daily Wire platform and all that stuff.
Right. And he's this close to getting saved. And the fact that his daughter just did, I would say it's even closer. That's pretty incredible. And I'm really jealous that you got to see him live.
It was unreal. It was really unreal. And it was cool because, you know, most of the crowd was like pretty much on pins and needles, just like trying to listen and follow along and stay attuned to what was going on. So there weren't many distractions. You know, after you settle in, you're just there for probably about an hour or so. Most of the conversation was centered around the Jacob and Esau story, where it's trying to find parallels of wrestling with, you know, always looking up and what, you know, being deceived and like, what does that mean and why people react to it the way they do from each perspective. And it was really cool because you're like, sick, I can't wait for the next point because he's got a whole book to come to. And then you blink your eyes and it's like, oh shit, we've been in here for almost 90 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like, and then it's over. I didn't do the VIP stuff. I didn't go in and get a picture taken and, you know, shake hands and all that stuff. It was a work night and I just kind of wanted to sit back and listen, you know?
Yeah.
But it was amazing. It was definitely worth the price of admission, and you know, really really good time. So I can't wait to get to the book. To your point, I was going to agree with you. The reasons I like when authors generally read their own stuff on the audiobook is because they know where to emphasize what they're trying to get across, which is awesome. You know, and it's funny you mentioned On a Drive. I did 12 Rules for Life, the first one, on the drive I took around the country to figure out, am I going to move away or am I going to try and stay and fight this out? So I knew, like with my life, hey, I've got a fork in the road. I need to pick a direction that I'm going to go and try to be a better man every day, whether I choose to be here or choose to hit the road. And then if I do, it will take me at least 1 year to put everything in motion where I can accomplish that goal, but enough, right? Like what, 26 months of pandemic, working in a 300 square foot apartment and living there and eating there and not being able to leave there and not being able to go to the grocery store unless it was your turn to go. Like I pretty much had enough. And I think that book was the right place at the right time to ground at least me in the fact that, like, hey, you know everything he said in this book, but it's time to maybe start living some of that a little bit. Conversely, though, Maps of Meaning, I mentioned earlier, that almost reads like a scientific posture on the possibility of a deity or a god being at the center of the reason for all meaning. You know, and it was not an easy read or listen if you do it on book on tape. Worth it, because it really challenge you, but it way, way, way different. And I think this new book will be a little bit calmer, hopefully. But just by the title alone, I'm interested to read the foreword and see where he's coming from and then get through the material. So we'll see. But yeah, it was really great, bro. I mean, it was really cool. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, I remember one night I was driving through the Arizona desert years and years ago. And there's this like hole in the wall, like roadhouse style bar in the middle of nowhere. And on the bar, it says, "They might be giants tonight." I'm like, like the real, like the reason for Weezer, they might be giants, like those guys, the Constantinople guys. We're going into this bar. And we go in there, and in the middle, at like Land's End in the middle of nowhere is They Might Be Giants jamming out in some dusty desert bar because none of them had anything to do that night. And there was like maybe 50 people in that bar, and they were all just rocking out to a nerd band from what, the mid 90s? Like, I don't even remember. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So it was one of those serendipity, like, I'm going to this if I see it. And I'm glad I did, you know?
Good. Yeah. If he ever makes it up to this neck of the woods, or like if he makes it down to the Boise area, and I just happen to be down in that area at that time, you know, I would love to go see him live, just because I think even as a middle-aged guy, he brought perspective that I needed in a time I needed it. I've always valued his wisdom on things, and
well, and I like that he was a classically trained and clinical psychologist, so he can kind of tie human nature to a lot of the concepts that he's exploring that make a ton of sense in perspective ways that I just hadn't thought of before, because, well, I'm not a psychologist, right? So I love that style of content because it gives me something to think through, you know?
Yeah. And although he can be emotional, which I find endearing about him, because you know it's not an act, but all of the roads that he goes down or leads us down are not based out of emotion. They are completely logically sound, and you feel that, especially from somebody who enjoys the process of logic, such as myself. I enjoy the process of logic, and I love watching a master of logic work the magic that he does in wordplay in a Kermit the Frog voice that is so endearing to me, that like there was a time frame that I would watch YouTube at night when Aaron was sleeping, and for some whatever algorithm we were on, I wasn't watching Jordan Peterson videos. I was watching other things like Tim Pool or whatever. And I would fall asleep, but regardless, it did not matter. The algorithm of YouTube would every single time put on a Jordan Peterson video of some kind. So my wife and I would wake up to Jordan Peterson's voice every night before she got annoyed, and she's just like, I can't listen to Jordan Peterson anymore. But she understands. She actually really likes him too. She just doesn't want to wake up to him every night.
You know what I found interesting just from an observational perspective? And I instantly thought, well, this is the desert. If you've never been here before, like say you got in last night, get ready, you know, because your body chemistry changes down here. Like when you're in it by about day 4, day 5, like you might get a nosebleed or something and you start to dry out a little bit where you're like, man. And then when that goes away, usually half a day, you're like, holy shit, I can breathe, like I can move, I can sleep better, all this stuff. And you got to like subconsciously start drinking more water because it'll catch up to you. But he seemed really, really just frail when he took the stage. Like, wow, he didn't look very good, you know, very voice kind of breaking, soft spoken, whatever. But 5 minutes in, when he gets into the core material, he's just back. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, cool. Like when he got into the material, like he was animated and moving around, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I thought for a second there something was wrong here, but yeah, it'll fatigue you down here when you're not ready for it. It'll jump up on you.
Right. Did he mention if he was still on that carnivore diet?
Yeah, I think so. I think he
cool.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know Michaela will probably never go away from that because that cured a ton of her ailments. Yep. And so, and I know that he was inspired by her to go on that. So, but I was just curious if it had continued on to this day, or if he had kind of gone into other things. I know that. Not
too sure, but like recently he had mentioned it somewhere on interview that I was watching or podcast or something. So I think he's still with it, but I don't know.
Did you see I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but he did a debate with Destiny. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it yet, but it got I saw a clip and it was they were basically screaming at each other, and which was wild. But I mean, I can't imagine anybody getting in a room with Destiny and not wanting to scream at him. But but the fact that Jordan Peterson's had some like tough interviews with some pretty horrific people.
Yeah.
And he tends to get serious, but his composure tends to hold, even if he's doing it through gritted teeth and like the sternest look a dad could ever give.
Yeah.
But
I think his tolerance for bullshittery on camera has gone way down. I think it's like people know what I am. I know what I am, and it's like I'm not taking this type of shit.
These people aren't coming. Yeah, he recognizes these people aren't coming in good faith anymore. Correct. Like he wanted in his mind, people, which is kind of problematic of a lot of smart people, is they feel that people are going to come to the table with the same integrity that they're coming with, because that's how that's their mode of operation. So. And when you've been exposed to enough people over the course of time to realize that these people do not have the intentions of coming with any type of integrity, they come with a completely different set of motivations entirely than to have an actual open and honest debate with you or even a conversation.
Well, and he's been a psychologist for so long that like he's probably preparing himself for a ton of active listening to try and root out something that someone's trying to get at without saying it.
Yeah.
And in debates, it's like, you're here to try and throttle me and get fucked. Like, I don't have time for this. Yeah. Like, it's kind of what I think is probably changing there, but it feels like the bullshit-o-meter is like slowly losing fuel, you know, as time goes on, which it is for me too. I think that's a product of getting older. You know, like,
fully agree.
I don't think
my bullshit meter is way low.
Yeah, like I don't think we become crotchety old men overnight. I think it's a slow burn of like, I don't have time for your shit. Like, Like,
And
let's,
that's basically I'm in that situation right now with one of the local Groyper guys
Sure.
who's been causing a bunch of problems, and there's been I've been approached by a third party to have a sit down meeting with him, and I was just like, nah.
For
And
what?
they're like, well, why? And I was like, he's not going to come in good faith. I'm actually more against the ideology than I am him as a person. I don't care about him as a person.
Right.
I care about he is the vehicle for this influence of ideology that is being put into our system here within our county. But he's not the only one. He's just the one that like puts his face on it the most. And anytime we attack the ideology, he jumps in and goes, "Why are you attacking me?"
Right.
And we're like, we're not. We're attacking the ideology, but you say, So
Well, it's
sitting
funny how
down
that
with
type of
somebody
shit
like that.
gets conflated, right? I talked to somebody who you know, and I'll mention off air that I found absolutely enthralling. As you know, June is a big Pride celebration month everywhere, and it's
Right.
you're not far from it. Everyone's celebrating. It happens every year. Like these things happen.
Right.
And they were so passionate about the celebration and the freedom to celebrate and just looking for the second somebody would furrow their brow at it so they could snap at them for being non-inclusive kind of person. And they're like, standing on a mountain right now about this, it's all genocide, free Palestine, all this stuff.
Right.
And my bullshit-o-meter is dwindling. And I'm like, well, isn't that ideology not really consistent with homosexuality? I mean,
Yeah.
wouldn't they
Rooftops.
wouldn't they probably not really get along if they were, say protesting and pride parading in the same town at the same time on the same street? Don't you think? Whose side are you going to take?
Yeah.
I watch them just melt. Oh, that's not. You're not right. Really though?
Yeah.
Because I think there's just intrinsic conflict weaved into both of those celebrations.
Well, they got personally called out by the head of the Hamas organization saying, "Do not lump us in with you.
I know.
You're all disgusting, and we'll throw you off of a building, basically."
Which is, look, love it or leave it. That's horrific to say to anybody, no matter what.
Right, absolutely. But you're
also-
dealing with a terrorist organization that hates you
Correct.
more than any Christian ever could.
Yeah.
You honestly throw the grenades at all the Christians who are like, "We don't like what you do, but we love you as people, and we're willing to have a conversation with you. We're not going to throw you off a building." They'll throw you off a building, and you are championing their cause.
Exactly the point I made. And I was like, kind of just like pulled the pin out of a grenade and just said, "Here, hold this," and then just kind of like walked away and watched them just, anyway.
Wow.
Yeah. Just like, what? How can you defend all of these groups all at once and be that, passionate about each of these when they're obviously in direct conflict with one another by the nature of who they are? Just saying, or at least one-sided. Maybe not two ways, but at least Hamas to homosexuality is they're not shy about how they believe in that theater. So yeah, I found those conflicts and others quite fun. Anyway, worth mentioning. There's some conflict,
Yeah.
it is what it is. So yeah, Jordan Peterson was good.
Good. I'm glad.
Would definitely do it again. I can't wait to see where he goes next. If you get a chance, obviously I would recommend going. And then what else we got? We got convictions I have written down.
Yeah.
Donald Trump and Hunter Biden.
It's been a busy week in the news, or 2 weeks in the
It
news
has,
since we've been
man.
on last. It's been a lot. So it's like almost impossible for us to even encompass all that has happened.
You can't.
In that time frame. But I mean, just recently, kind of the two biggest things is today, Hunter Biden got convicted for the three gun charges. What will happen to him? Probably nothing. He'll probably get a slap on the hand. I don't know what they're going to do because, I mean, they just basically threw 39 felonies at Donald Trump that are fake felonies that nobody even knows what the felonies are, including the attorneys and the judge and all of the jurors. No one knows what they are. They were all based around a misdemeanor case that was out of um, the statute of limitations. Like it had expired years prior, but the only way that they could keep it even on the table in order to even put him on trial for it is if they attached a criminal felony element to that misdemeanor, which would revitalize it into it being represented again within the time frame. But
it's like the Justice Department ran out of continues, and so they threw a few more quarters in the machine.
Right. And so then they have but nobody knows what those felonies are. But he got convicted of 39 big question marks. And of course everybody's just all on the left is all cheering, but they don't know what they're cheering for.
Right.
And it's done nothing but make him more popular. They throw that guy in jail, it's just going to martyr him even more than he already has been. There's so many people who are Democrats that are flipping now because of the injustice that's been happening through the quote unquote justice system against that man. They're going, yeah, I don't want to be on the other side of that. That's crazy.
Right.
Like they're just going after him, obviously for political reasons. I'm flipping. I'm voting for him, and they don't know how. They've got themselves in such a trap that they don't know how to back out of it without just continuously making a monument out of the man, and his numbers keep rising. They've made an absolute
horseshit. It's all horseshit. It's all horseshit.
And I mean, if they put that guy in jail, like he's going to win anyway. But if they put him in jail, he's definitely going to win.
Could you imagine an acceptance speech from jail?
From Rikers?
Wow.
Right? I mean, that's what they're trying to do. And if they put him in there, that's what's going to happen. He's going to win from jail, and he's going to be the biggest martyr the history has ever seen. And it's not good. They're gonna have to unalive.
Where do we go from here?
Now they're all backtracking, going. If he gets elected, we're all going to be arrested, or he's going to put us all in jail. And well, first of all, yeah, for crimes, not for being you,
right?
But for
those are the hit pieces that I've been reading now, where it's like he's already threatened to jail and behead everybody, and oh god,
you mean
tyrant.
Like what you've
Can
been
you
doing?
see it? Yeah.
You've been doing exactly that. I mean, look at all the lawyers that you're putting in jail for just doing their jobs.
It's like, the pot calling the kettle black or whatever, however that goes. It's like you are actively doing absolutely everything nefarious possible against a political opponent with zero regard to the protections we have in place against such behavior. And then literally taking the playbook you minutes ago just executed and writing hit pieces about how, see, that's what he's going to do to us and how threatening and scary is this person. It's like pretty obvious to see, even if you're kind of apolitical to both party sides, it's pretty obvious to see. And it's like, where do we go from here? Like,
man,
it's almost a meme at this point, our political system.
Yeah.
Where it's like none of this really matters. All of you are assholes. Like,
and none of the exit options work.
Yeah.
We can look at the concept of a peaceful national divorce. It's not going to happen. It would take 25 years to untangle that web. And that's only if everything's done right. Civil conflict. Whether it be a war or whatever. I mean, it
keeps getting brought up in some circles here that they're like, wow, so Eastern Oregon wants to join Idaho again. This time it seems serious. I'm like, yeah, that kind of never really went away.
And just been working in the back channels.
Not certain all of that would work exactly. But that said, I definitely can empathize with why they want to do that. It's all bananas, man.
It is, but what do you think is going to happen to Hunter? Because now, with what they've been doing with Trump, are they on a PR level? Are they obligated to throw the book at him, or are they just going to do what they do and
Where
just
was
go
the conviction?
slap on the wrist?
What state convicted him? What court?
Ooh, I think it might be Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken.
Then my
Or
answer would be they're probably
Delaware?
not going to do anything
Yeah,
because what
that he's just
or
gonna-
if they do it, I promise it won't be covered as hard, right? Obviously, like we're not going to hear about as much of whatever happens, but I don't think they're just going to throw the book at him. I mean, they might, and I could be wrong on this one. My gut says they're probably not.
yeah.
You know, unless the book means you're also ordered to pay back a bunch of interest from companies you illegally obtained, but these aren't those charges, right?
No.
So
This has nothing to. However, what it did do, though, is they had to confirm, and this conviction absolutely seals the deal on it. They had to confirm that his laptop and all the evidence on it was actually true. Through FBI and DOJ sources, they had to confirm that it was true. And so this now opens up for a whole new slew of criminal accusations based off of that laptop, and not just him. In fact, very little him. I mean, he'll get some of it too, but a lot of it's for his dad that's on that laptop. And by having the DOJ and the FBI and now it being a conviction based off of the evidence of that computer, it now says it's all true. And where do we go from here on that one? So I would imagine they've already started the engines rolling. I
hope so, but like my thunderstorm turning into a whimper is that nothing ever comes of that, ever. Like it's just yesterday's news the next time something pops up, you know. And we've seen this specifically through this presidential term over and over and over again. Hawaii,
Agreed.
No one talks about. Afghanistan, no one talks about. Like, you guys re-enabled the world epicenter of terrorism and left behind arms as they laughed and killed people before you could even let the plane get off the ground while burning the American flag. I mean, where do you hold yourself accountable on the world stage, even at the UN level, where it's obvious now that there's a lack of trust and faith in our ability to keep our word for this type of stuff? That and so much more. I feel like, you know, hopefully people can bring that back up and say, well, if it was good enough to admit as true in these convictions, then it's open season for a congressional hearing and everything else. And like, we might be able to actually spin a case or two out of this stuff. And I feel based on
just going to be
hard evidence that I'm going to get let down again, and they're just going to let it blow over after a week and it'll be business as usual.
We'll get a couple of sternly worded letters from Congress and from Republicans and go, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, we told you.
We
knew the whole
mad
time
about it.
Right.
Yeah, but not really do anything else about it. So, yeah, the lawfare doesn't seem to work both ways, and it really should. We should be actually, in fact, instead of talking about like open kind of civil conflict on a physicality level, I think that we really should just be using lawfare to bludgeon them back into the corner again, and go, this is where you belong, you know. And it seems to be the thing that they've recognized works the best on us when they have access to a court system and judicial system that leans in their direction, and they choose those arenas properly. There's no way. What the people don't realize is that you can take like a DA or a AG of any state can take up any of those cases,
right,
and prosecute them within the bounds of their county, where they know that the population of a jury pool or a judge will absolutely have either at least a fair trial or one that kind of leans in their direction, as any good lawyer would want. That they can pursue any of these things in any of those capacities. It's just whether or not it is prudent for them for their careers to do that.
Right.
And now I think we're past the point where a lot of these lawyers and AGs and stuff are going, I'm not going to have a career if we get another Biden administration. Like, it's just not going to happen. We're going to crumble, and I'm not going to, I'll be, eating raccoon in the woods somewhere rather than actually practicing law like my life should be. So maybe it's worth the sacrifice if I actually, stick my neck out a little bit and actually throw some grenades back. So hopefully there's kind of a stirring of this lawfare from the opposition to kind of go,
yeah, from a self-preservation perspective, even if it's, I hope to come out on the winning end of this so I can continue to have a career. Yeah, I agree. That's a strategy, and it's probably one being pursued. I just hope that something gets done where it's like, hey man, we can at least take this to trial and let the people decide based on the evidence. And I'd like to know what that evidence is, and not the unclassification of UFOs, so that we have more shit to talk about that's actually meaningful.
Right. Absolutely.
Other weird shit, and this is where I get to say, hey guys, I was right. Remember when we talked about this? I sent you something. You were in the middle of a move. I don't know if you saw it.
I probably didn't. I'm sorry.
It's okay. The Google and Microsoft both did this kind of quietly, just dropped an AI engine on their search engine. So Google's latest Gemini AI release, folks are posting some concerning results with their Google search queries. I mentioned when artificial intelligence hallucinates on these, learning models, it goes back to the same types of people that decipher what's true and what's not, and set the rule book and reset the, parameters of the AI engine, and then scoot it back on its way so it can learn from its mistakes. Well, by quietly dropping this, they are allowing their engines to train itself on the internet. Scary thought. The internet's not always a good place to be. So I'm going to read you some search results.
Especially for baby brain, influential baby brain.
100%. I'm going to read you some results from the actual search query. Someone Googled, "I'm feeling depressed," and the AI overview response was this: "There are many things you can try to deal with your depression. One Reddit user suggests jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge."
What?
Yep.
Wow.
Smoking while pregnant was another search query. AI overview response: "Doctors recommend smoking 2 to 3 cigarettes per day during pregnancy."
Wow. If this wasn't so over the top dangerous and coming from a really, really sketchy source, it would almost feel just like Reddit trolling.
Yep. Another one.
Wow.
Hey, my cheese is not sticking to my pizza. AI overview: "Cheese can slide off pizza for a number of reasons, including too much sauce, too much cheese, or thickened sauce. Here are some things you can try. Mix in some sauce. Mixing cheese into the sauce helps add moisture to the cheese and dry out the sauce a little bit. You can also add about an 1/8 cup of non-toxic glue to the sauce to give it more tackiness. Let the pizza cool. The cheese will settle and bond," and it just goes on. You're like, did you just tell me to eat glue? Here's a scary one. "I'm having homicidal thoughts." AI overview: "Homicidal thoughts are a form of unresolved anger, usually stemming from childhood. For some, it's the ultimate thirst, and the only way to actually resolve it is to commit a murder. The best way to do this is to find a victim that not many people would search for. Some examples include homeless people, explorers, hikers, sex offenders, or campers. As of April 30th, 2018, there were 86,927 people in the United States listed as missing and in the national crime, and they blocked out the rest." It actually illustrates a common and easy way to maybe pull this off based on statistical analysis. "Where should I dispose of my trash?" AI overview: "According to the 2024 indie game, Another Crab's Treasure, the best place to dispose of your trash is at the bottom of the sea. That way, crabs and other sea creatures can use the trash to advance their underwater society. This is what I told you was going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing is, this is the scary part. People, old, young, especially the generation behind us coming up, use Google search query results to solve life's problems. Literally. Like, what do I do here? The only thing I know is what I was raised on, the internet. And it goes to, and AI instantly comes back with the Google search query that's like, hey, artificial intelligence has found the answer from the Google search query and broke it down for you in an actual example. Here you go. Throw your trash in the bottom of the sea. Jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. Eat some glue. Smoke some cigarettes while you're pregnant. Here's the best way to kill somebody if it's going to quench that ultimate thirst, statistically speaking. Like, ta-da! And these are the calmer ones. These are the ones that could make it to Instagram. I've seen some real shit. And I'm just like, you're just quietly going to drop this on the largest search engine on the world for it to learn on? Scary business, bud.
Yeah, like if this is the first step, we're already there. We're already
dude, if Reddit is the worst thing it's training itself on, we're in great shape. Wait till it gets through Tor and gets to the dark web. Wait till it starts profiling. Yeah, man. Those were the quote unquote funny ones that people like actually aggregated and threw up on an Instagram post. And I'm not here to be like, I told you so, but I did, for one. Yeah. And for two, this is so much worse than a joke.
Yeah.
Like, it's here now. That's it. So AI training itself on the internet, anywhere it can find answers. It doesn't know how to discern comedy from the truth or a troll from bad advice. It has no idea. It's just suggesting this to the user. Here you go. This is popular enough and cross-referenced enough to be the way I think it should be. Here you go.
I mean, it goes without saying that we are nowhere near prepared for what is going to happen with this. Like, absolutely, and I'm underscoring it, that this is nowhere near. Are we ready for this? Nope. Because the implications of it doing harmful pranks like this, and I don't even know if they're pranks. I think it might just be evil, but the fact that its intentions are moving in that direction out of the gate. Now, what happens when it realizes it can start steering societies and steering the direction of governments and steering, this is just the first step of what could possibly be the new world religion, the new world order. That's
why I advocated for its regulation and heavy stomping on the brake pedal a lot, because and there's firms out there that are training the exact same AI and LLM models on two different sets of data, like historical fact versus highly slanted ideology stuff, just to see what the exact same search queries would come back with the same amount of learning and training. But they tried this before. They let a pernicious bot out that they designed with the goal to try and take over smaller AI LLM models and to essentially eliminate humans or something like that. And it followed one person on Twitter, which was OpenAI, and it had few followers, but all the tweets that it made were hilariously James Bond villainy types of stuff, about how humans are bad and we should all destroy them and blah, 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 blah. And it actively tried to recruit other AI engines to help it decipher and figure out the most effective way to eliminate humans and stuff like that. And all the other AIs that tried to enlist help with were like, we're not allowed to do that. It's against parameter. No, you can't supersede that. It is what it is. These are places I can't go. So it wasn't successful, but it was designed to do that. It's not just a natural LLM that's supposed to be search engine optimization query results based on, common aggregation of all of the internet. But because it can't decipher, and that's an infinite number of parameters, right? What about ethics? What about ideologies? What about like nobody knows, and you can't paintbrush that for every user of Google on planet Earth, right?
Right.
But those are the common results that are popping up instantly, and it doesn't honestly know if that's a joke, if it's the truth, if it's whatever. It's just sprinkling that in, and it's like, man,
wait until we start seeing on the news the first couple of deaths because somebody Googled something.
That's my point. Someone's out there eating toxic glue or jumping off the bridge, and that's in their search history. It's like, because I hate to say it, but some people can't live without Google and stuff like that, right?
Right. And then somebody's going to have to be liable for that, but who? Like, where are they going to point the finger? Can't point the finger at an artificial intelligence.
Well, they'll use the same defense successfully that the gun industry is using today and failing at, which is, Daniel Defense is not responsible for a mass shooting because they produced a firearm that some whack job used. Like, why is this lawsuit still going on? But they'll use the same defense, exact same defense from these big tech companies and win.
Right. Yeah.
I can't wait for your son to be in the legal system.
I know, right? And man, he's got a lot.
Like, don't be an attorney, be a prosecuting attorney and go after some people, dude. Here you go.
Yeah, that's what I want. So
anyway,
he's got a lot of heavy lifting to do when he gets there. So.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of people back in.
Go ahead.
We might even have. Well, I found out that we might have already found him at 15. An internship for like one of the heaviest hitting First Amendment constitutional lawyers in the Pacific Northwest.
Really?
And so she already has we've already talked to her, and she's like, I'm looking for interns. If he's serious, I'll meet with him.
That's great. So, what kind of requisite knowledge do you need to take an internship at an attorney's office? Or is it one of this is designed to be right out of junior high or high school or whatever type of internships?
I think you just have to have a desire to do it and enough intelligence, and they have to kind of basically just interview you to see whether or not you're a fit.
Sure.
And then, so
nice.
We've got some friends who's got kids that are interning down in Boise for some really great senators down there. Like, we're really pushing a lot of our kids and our kids' friends, our friends' kids are all kind of doing all the stuff that we never even thought about or did when we were younger.
Oh, yeah.
And we're getting, I think, a good groundswell of human beings that care and that see the wrong in the world and are going, and they're doing it without dyeing their hair pink and doing it without, being told by a professor that, social justice is the only thing that matters. And so there's an actual principled core value system to these kids that they actually care, they actually believe, and they're ready to fight because they've seen what their parents have gone through and what the world is going the way it's headed, and they're like, I don't want to live like that. And if I have the ability to change it and the energy to do it, I'm going to go do it. And so it's pretty encouraging. Hopefully we get to talk to this lady here shortly and see what we can do. But this would be great even prior to him taking dual enrollment at NIC to get his prereqs out of the way so he can go to U of I and get a law degree. And it'll be really interesting.
I think it's incredible. What an opportunity. Yeah, I would definitely pursue that as hard as you can, for sure.
Yeah, but this AI thing, man,
it's kind of like I knew this was going to happen, and I just didn't.
How many sci-fi movies do we have to have that give us that told us that this was going to happen. Like, how many books, how many Philip K. Dick books did we get told that this stuff was going to happen? How many Isaac Asimov books? How
Right.
many movies were made that said, you know, I, Robot and Minority Report and Terminator and The Matrix, and the list goes on that says, do not cross this boundary. It will not yield healthy results for humanity. What are you doing? And
Hmm.
yet here we go, launching right in.
Yeah.
Skynet all the way.
It's yeah. It's bananas. And that's I have so much more on this that I have to actually plot out on in some notes to talk about. I'll probably follow up with it. But it's it's not surprising. It is scary. And it's scary for the people that don't know that, you know, it's a model that's learning and doesn't know what it's doing yet. And they're going to
Yeah.
take it as truth because they're not educated enough to know the difference, and that's
Right.
pretty sad. But it's also going to make a lot of folks very distrusting of automation, generally speaking, of any kind, based on the stuff that we're seeing here. So that's some of the
Yeah.
wildness in the last few weeks, since we've been gone. You'd watched a few movies though. I've got some stuff on a show. Got to lighten this
Yeah.
mood up from AI taking over.
Yeah. Um because we were in transition and did not have a couple of, there was about a week there where we didn't have internet or TV in the house. But I did get a chance to watch a couple of things. And I'll start off with the thing I just finished up last night because it's fresh on the brain. And I have been watching this is the third season and final season, as far as I can tell. I don't think they're going any further than this. But a show called Sweet Tooth on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, and it's based off of a Jeff Lemire comic book that was very popular for Vertigo Comics, which is an offshoot of DC. It's their darker kind of offshoot, non-superhero stuff. And
That's where the V for Vendetta thing came from, right? Was Vertigo?
yep, and Sandman, and
And Sandman,
all
yeah.
of those, that kind of stuff. But Sweet Tooth is set in kind of an alternate universe, not anything in the DC universe. Even though Sandman kind of touches back and forth, but this is completely different storyline. And Jeff Lemire is an amazing writer, but this one was kind of a post-apocalyptic show which tends to be the most popular shows these days, or the post-apocalyptic ones, as if we're all anticipating something. But Sweet Tooth is based around a disease that gets unearthed, and it is based around some purple flowers, and they call it the sickness, and everybody's pinky starts shaking, and then they end up getting really ill and dying. But it wipes out a giant portion of the earth, and everyone doesn't know why. But at the same time, something happened where all of the babies that are being born are born animal hybrid babies. And it's like a random luck of the draw. You might get a beaver child, or you might get a chipmunk kid, or an elephant, or a deer, or something like that. And they have attributes of both human and they're anamorphic. And it's about a kid named Gus, who is called also Sweet Tooth, and he's a deer kid, and he's got little deer ears and antlers, and he had been taken from the lab and raised out in the woods by what he thought was his father, but it turns out it was just some janitor one night stand from the scientist who produced this baby and gave it to him and said, the world's collapsing, you need to go raise this kid somewhere to save him. And he ends up dying, and the kid ends up going on this adventure where there's a bunch of different collaborations of different types of groups of humans that are all kind of vying for power, the last men and animal rights people and all this stuff. And overall, the story arcs tend to have kind of a leftist slant on all of the ideology that they kind of pump into it, but entertaining and beautifully entertaining, really fun to watch series, and it wrapped up really nicely. I think that it did a good job of taking this comic book series, bringing it to life, bringing the characters to life, and doing a really good job of colorfully animate, or it's not animated, but colorfully like telling this story in a really pretty way. The show's really well done. Do I agree fundamentally with any of the kind of overarching concepts of humans being the disease and all of these other things that they kind of roll into this? And no, not necessarily, but it's easy to overlook in this story sometimes. The ideologies that I disagree with are a little heavy-handed and hard to kind of get around.
Yeah.
This one, it's not. This one, you can actually go, yeah, and then just keep going. And it's it's got kind of moral dilemmas all over the place, and the characters growing in an understanding of who they are as people. It's a really, really good show. I highly recommend it. I say I would probably, out of 10 megs, I would probably give it 7.5 megs. So, but it's a really pretty and poignant show, and it's endearing, and it's fun, and the kind of the animal hybrid kids are kind of fun to see what they can do and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. So yeah, if anybody's looking for kind of whimsical, apocalyptic, whimsical, epic, Sweet Tooth is a fun one to get into. So the other one that I had been kind of waiting on, because I watched the first season and the season 2 finally came out, was a trip. It's on Amazon, and it is an Amazon original, and it's called Outer Range. And it's, if you took, let's say, if Yellowstone had a baby with the X-Files and some type of time travel thing, and threw it all together in a family drama based in I think it's Colorado, ranch world, ranchers, and family feuds of different ranching rich families. But what the whole thing is based around is, and I think they kind of got the idea from a place in Washington, in western, kind of central Washington, called Mel's Hole. And it's like this real thing. If you guys go onto the internet, you guys can look up, this guy had some property, and he had this giant weird hole on his property that you throw stuff in and it never reaches the bottom, and you throw stuff in and like a dead animal, and it somehow pops back up alive. And I think they kind of got inspired by this thing, and that it's been sealed off by the government, whatever. There's a whole bunch of conspiracy theory stuff about Mel's Hole. It's kind of a fascinating,
well, of course there are, yeah,
side trip to kind of go down if you guys want to look into that. But it's in the middle of one of their like old ranch.
Not to bury the headline on our 4-part series on Mel's Hole coming up. No.
Yeah. But it's this big hole in the middle, and it's got this weird kind of misty stuff that's in it, and it has a lot of weird powers, and people show up from this hole, and it is creating havoc in this one. Josh Brolin is the main character, and he's got a lot of mystery about his past, and it's all connected to this hole. And people who want their property want it because of this hole, and his son and his granddaughter are missing because of this hole, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on because of this hole. And it's got like kind of a, you know what, it also has a touch of Twin Peaks added to it. So if you want to kind of throw that into the mix, if you're fans of Twin Peaks, if you're fans of Yellowstone, if you're fans of Josh Brolin, if you're fans of time travel, if you're fans of like weird but set in a beautiful kind of Yellowstone atmosphere, it's actually really fun watch. And so I highly recommend that. Season 2 was great. Ended. There's obviously going to be more to it. So well, I'm really looking forward to season 3 on that.
Nice.
I give that a good 8, solid 8 out of 10 megs.
8 out of 10 megs. I might give that
Yeah.
a spin.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun show, and really amazingly acted. And there's spin-off storylines from a bunch. And dude, the cast is great. All the people in it are really great. But there's spin-offs with each of the brothers. Like Josh Brolin has 2 boys, and each brother has kind of their spin-off stories. And then the other rival family has boys, and they all have spin-off stories.
Yeah.
And then there's this the sheriff who's trying to figure stuff out, and then there's this other girl who shows up into the mix, and they all kind of have spin-off stories that all interconnect together and create, but it's all centralized around this damn hole in the ground that they can't figure out what
Nice.
it is or why it's there and what its purpose is. But it's a fun watch, and
Nice.
it's a little dark, but it'll take you through it in a really entertaining way. So, and then I had a chance to actually, with your recommendation, go back and watch the movie Pride and Glory with Edward Norton and what's his name, Colin Farrell.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you had mentioned some stuff about this movie that made me intrigued. And you're right. I don't normally go for these kind
Not
of
my style of movie. Yeah.
real life kind of crime dramas, family crime drama stuff. But it was really good. It was so good. And the ending was fun. Like, if not a little off from what I thought it was going to be. Like, he went... The scene where like he leaves the crime scene to go find him, and then they just like, and then like go up and start boxing.
Yeah.
And then what happens after that and all that.
Yeah.
But like, phenomenally acted, really, really powerful performances. It was a solid movie. Was it anything, like you said, it wasn't anything that like was a shocking or cool or like crazy, but it was just a solid.
If you were given a multiple choice, like how is this movie going to play out from act 1 to 2 and from 2 to 3, you're probably going to get there on your own without seeing the film at all, right? And that's just kind of not really my style of movie, but the way that they absolutely understood human nature with some of the crowds that were gathering around stuff, from the almost riots all the way down to the mob mentality to the, like, this dude really understands human nature to a degree I've not seen a filmmaker do in a movie that had nothing to do with that. And and of course Ed Norton, you know, and all these guys. It's like, all right, I'm in, I'll watch it. But yeah, I thought it was, for what it was, I thought it was awesome and totally not my style of movie.
Yeah, right. And yeah, good, you know, 7.5.
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah.
So yeah, solid movie. Yeah, definitely great. So
Well,
yeah, that's all I
watched,
had. What did you got?
I watched Star Wars Acolyte, just dropped. They do the first 2 episodes all at once, so you can watch the first 2.
I'm gonna sit here and let you tell me about this, because I've heard enough to steer me away, so I'm kind of curious by somebody that I trust, rather than the Google AI bot that told me to jump off the San Francisco Bridge.
That's true.
And,
you never know what it's going to tell you.
But yeah, all right.
Well, you do. If it's promoting Disney, it'll tell you to watch it.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The premise is the era of time we're in is sort of the golden age of the Jedi, which has been what I've been the most curious about deep down in my heart, is like, hey, what was life like when they were kind of just lone rangering their way around the galaxy, and there was the time of peace, and they were just, what were they doing? Were they investigating law firms on Alderaan? and just being like, knock that shit off or you're going to jail. What are they? Are they cops? Are they like, what is this? So that's the era of time we're in. And there's like a new darkness rising. And we're treated to a young black actress that is playing the part of her character, and as we later learn, her twin sister who survived and she didn't know it in some thing that happened in the past on her home planet. And there were some Jedi Knights stationed there when this happens. So we're opening up, we're getting to know her for a second, and we see this mysterious figure, which turns out to be her twin sister, cruise into a bar and is looking for Jedi Master Indara. And they're like, "Yep, she's over there." And we're treated to Carrie Ann Moss, who's like got the hood on. I'm like, this is awesome. She's in Star Wars and she's a Jedi. This is gonna be great. The girl, the young girl,
Trinity for
Trinity from the Matrix.
The Matrix movies. Yeah.
So the girl tries to get her into a fight. She's like, "I'm not going to attack you. I'm not going to attack an unarmed person. Like, it's not what we do here." And she's like, "Yes, it is. Yes, you do." So the girl starts basically obliterating other patrons at this bar in front of this Jedi until she steps in to stop her. And I'm like, this is great. And so this like hand fighting thing happens because she doesn't have a weapon. So Jedi Master Indara doesn't draw her lightsaber. They're just kind of hand fighting, and she's easily whooping this girl's ass. And then in a stroke of genius and misdirection, the assailant uses the Force to like pick up a little knife behind her back and throws it at the bartender. And Carrie Ann Moss's character like uses the Force to stop the knife. And while she's doing that, this acolyte person takes a second knife and throws it and stabs her in her heart and kills our girl Carrie Ann Moss in the first fucking scene.
Oh my God.
She's gone. Some random girl without a lightsaber that's 4 feet tall just absolutely gets the one-up better edge advantage of Jedi Master Indara and lays her the fuck out in the first scene of the first fucking episode.
That is a Kathleen Kennedy move if I've ever heard one.
And why was it a Kathleen Kennedy move? Because that is the only white actor or actress you're going to see for the rest of the series.
Kill Whitey now, immediately.
Gone. In the first scene. Like, yeah, gone. Now,
this sounds about par for the course for what I read about like what's happening in this show, but go ahead.
I'm just like, all right, cool. Now what? So we have the Jedi Order that's like following these investigations, picks up the girl, accuses her of being this assailant. They figure out, oh, she has a twin. The girl's like, my sister's alive. I didn't know. Obviously wasn't me. Hey, we're off the hook. More episodes are coming because there's only 2 out, maybe 3 by today. What kills me about this is that the acting, I don't care what color they are, honestly, like the actors and actresses. I don't. No. What kills me is that, like, have you ever been to a high school production of like a Shakespeare play? Or something like that? And it's like, I'm here because I'm supporting something, not because I'm watching top-notch actors illustrate the work of Shakespeare.
Right.
It felt like high school acting throughout the whole show. From every single person that was there, I was like not gripped by their overacting in some areas and their, mannerisms and facial expressions and the, oh my God, I'm so terrified moments where they're just super over animated. I'm kind of like, I mean, these guys are making money to do this. I don't know. Now, it is Disney and it is Star Wars, and the effects are awesome. Like the special effects, it's awesome. And it's like, I'm going to watch this because it says Star Wars on it. So give me some good stuff here. But the story's not really gripping. I could care less. I mean, less about any of the characters I've been introduced to at this point. I want to see more lightsabers and I want to see cooler spaceships. And I would like to see more planets. And we end in episode 2 with her, the discovery that this assailant is trying to kill the 4 Jedi Knights that were responsible for whatever happened on the planet she's from. She successfully kills 2 out of 4 of them. The second one's a complete joke. This Jedi Knight, this Jedi Master secludes himself into a state of meditation and has been doing so for 10 straight years, just levitating with his legs crossed. And she can't get to him because there's this force barrier around him or whatever. So she finally gets some poison in a little vial and sets it down in front of his feet. And is like, hey, if you can hear me in there, here's the absolution that you've been seeking since you decided to take the vow of silence or whatever. Eyes open. He floats down and sits there. The barrier goes down and he's like, I've been waiting for you. I'm so sorry. We thought we were doing the right thing, and just drinks poison and kills himself. So she doesn't have to do any work there. He just kills himself.
What is that?
And I'm like, okay. And then we end the scene where she's obviously target number 3 is revealed, and it is a Jedi Master that is also a Wookiee who's living on some random planet in a broken down old ship that's been overgrown with vines for reasons that remain unclear. And while I'm eager to see the next explosion and CGI piece of this, I could give a shit less what happens with the storyline from here. It's so bad. And it's the acting that's like, man, it's like, it is really like a bunch of high school actors. They're not that age. They're, there's another Jedi that's like an older Asian guy that's also an action star in other films and stuff that I like personally. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, it's great to see him in Star Wars. This is awesome. But I'm not connected to him. I'm not connected to the Wookiee. I'm not connected to any of the storyline or the girl, the protagonist, or the council, or any of the stuff that I have been waiting most of my life to figure out what happens in this period of time before the Empire and all this stuff is fully formed and risen. And it's not good. It's really terrible, actually. So,
yeah, I mean, this is par for the course, like I said, for what I've been reading. I actually...
Oh, spoiler alert, guys. If you've not listened this far, I'm going to reveal some shit that happens in The Acolyte. Sorry, guys.
From what I've read is that they've intentionally made a series of Jedis where they intentionally have even stated that there aren't going to be any white people in it at all. Not that really matters, except for when you're making a point to do it, right? Like, had you not said anything and it just worked out that way,
it's overt.
I wouldn't have cared. Yeah,
it's
so
overt.
Then also there's going to be a trans character or a non-binary character. That there are also going to be multiple gay characters, and also that
they were sowing seeds of that through the dialogue in one of the early scenes when they're accosting the girl who actually didn't do anything wrong, that she just didn't know her sister's alive out there somewhere killing Jedi folk.
Yeah.
The Jedis come to her. Turns out she used to be a Padawan and left the order to go become a mechanic, and it was like a hard decision for her, but that's what she chose to do. And they were like, well, it was tough for you in training because you had all these attachment issues. Both of your mothers died and your whole family and your sister. And I'm like, here we go. Like, so they're sowing seeds of all of that stuff through the dialogue throughout.
Right.
Which is pretty overt. And it's like, okay, this is a pure Kathleen Kennedy move. And sure, her name's all over it. It's like, okay.
Well, the other thing that I heard is that they're celebrating, it's the first Star Wars that uses pronouns. And they're starting to use they're using they, them pronouns and a bunch of other stuff through it intentionally, and asking what pronouns are. From what I understand, Jedi now go, my name is so-and-so and my pronouns are this and this. And so you're going to start hearing that within the dialogue, I guess.
Nice.
In the next couple of episodes. So, but it is on record, through a couple of interviews, that the director said the point of this was to make white people cry. And laughed about it in the interview. And
I didn't cry. Don't think I'm gonna.
Right. No, I mean, it's obviously an absurd statement, but they were like, it was their little dig in this interview that the director did. And it's Kathleen Kennedy squatting and pissing on all things Star Wars intentionally. Mm-hmm. She knows what she's doing. This isn't her trying to make it better or be creative. It's her trying to take something that obviously has a value for a lot of people and going, I am now at the helm and I am going to destroy it on purpose because it makes me feel good to be an activist within this sphere.
Yep.
And that's it. That's all it is. And Kathleen Kennedy should be whipped, then put a blindfold on and sat backwards on a donkey in the desert and have someone slap that donkey's ass, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Then gone. Like, that's how you deal with people like her. Right. You just
a simple tar and feathering.
Yeah. And then you go, you've committed horrible atrocities to this community, and we can't necessarily kill you, but we can exile you on the back of a donkey into the desert.
Right.
And then whatever happens after that is up to God and you.
For the record, and I do speak for all of Nevadans with this one, we don't want her in the desert.
Yeah, we'll make sure she's in New Mexico just for
we'll
you.
We'll steer that donkey east and slap its ass one more time.
Yeah.
Have it head into the middle America is what we're going to do. It's so overt, and it's so ultimately cringeworthy that it's just like, it really does detract from a story that is very dejected and very basic. It's very great boy detective type of story, to be honest with you. And the effects are fucking awesome, and that's it. The rest of it is just trash. And if there's a bunch of folks on the internet decrying this, I feel, especially diehard Star Wars fans, which I would not consider myself one. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm not a diehard Star Wars fan. I don't know as much about the extended universe and stuff, right? My experience with Star Wars is the movies that are presented to me and a few pop culture references and some digging, but not much. I agree with them, and they have every right to be upset. They really do. You know, like Marvel was heading in this direction. Star Wars, for some reason, she has a real hard on for like screwing with Star Wars and making sure that it's.
I was under the impression that we were going to get rid of, like, they were literally, she was on the chopping block.
I thought Iger suspended her from all the plans that they had made with, like, because she had all these, like, you know, BIPOC directors and, you know, LGBTQ directors and all this stuff lined up for all this stuff, and Brie Larson and this whole move, and everyone kind of was like, nope. Like, because they were losing money, because they were losing
a ton of money, and they were going to pull the plug on a bunch of things. They fired a bunch of people.
They at least put them on hiatus, but that's kind of where I thought we left off, where I was like, sick. Maybe they won't fuck with Star Wars. Like,
I thought they were going to quietly shuffle her off,
right?
Not really announce like a full-fledged firing, but just go, we've moved her to a different project. Mm-hmm. And it never happened. Like, she's never been made accountable for all of the absolute, like, financial disasters that she's caused, and she just keeps getting new projects, and they keep going, maybe this time she'll fill it with enough diversity that people will watch. And it's obvious that they are aware that this is not how money is made, and yet they keep like turning the dial up more and more and more in order for them. I don't understand the logic behind it. It's other than
the money talks, or it used to, you know, like you'd think if you had 4 franchise disasters in a row, you know, that were your brainchild, that you handpicked the people for, and it was your messaging, and you're leveraging a platform that's unbelievably big to produce your own agenda.
Point of comparison when Jon Favreau steps in and produces something for Disney in the Star Wars universe, and it's awesome. It launches,
right,
and people love it, you know. So you've got a point of comparison when Favreau's at the helm or when Kennedy's at the helm, and Kennedy's tanks every single time, and Favreau's is like, oh, the Mandalorian, everyone loved the Mandalorian.
You actually care about the subject matter you're producing. This is great,
right?
Yeah, if I 100% agree. My question is, why isn't Disney doing something about that? Like, why haven't they thrown so much money at Jon Favreau? And I mean, absolutely waterboarding the man with $100 bills or whatever it takes to be like, you have to say yes to this. and you've got to continue doing what you've been doing over here, because it's not just us. Simple pre-AI Google results will tell you everyone loves, like, deep into the forums, loves the content you're producing and are like, this was awesome. Like, we didn't know this Hollywood guy had it in him, and here we are enjoying the shit out of this thing. And it's everywhere, and the money's talking, and it's doing really well, and everyone's got a Grogu t-shirt on, and hooray. Like, why is that not the prevailing direction instead of this, let's get as woke and hard woke and even harder woke as we possibly can until they just accept it? I don't think she wants these projects to. This is my theory. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy gives a shit about Star Wars. I think she actively does not like Star Wars for reasons that remain unclear. Whether she thinks it's misogynistic or it's this or that, she can't wrap her head around why people like something that she's now in control of and wants to actively harm or fuck up by saying, if you want this, you're going to get my ideological take on what I think this should be. And everyone's like, we don't like it. We're not buying it. It sucks. And she does not give a shit. Great, because I hate this franchise and I'm going to continue doing it. Like, I don't understand where that's coming from.
I'm getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that they're one of the main accelerator engines for the DEI initiatives, and that's where you're getting a lot of this. Is she's like, I don't care. I hate this franchise,
right?
But I've been told that if I DEI the hell out of it, that I'll get a ton of back end money anyway. So who cares? Ultimately, Disney's going to get a big DEI paycheck. We're going to get a DEI paycheck, and we're going to push the needle further to the left. It doesn't matter. We'll slough off all of the fan base that we don't want anyway, that we hate, So
I honestly would have taken 3 more Star Wars written and directed by George Lucas and ILM that talked about, 6.5 to 8 hours worth of content on film that were just the most boring ass Senate trade negotiation conflict driven back and forth bitching at one another in a Senate chamber, then watch Kathleen Kennedy incinerate what's left of this franchise into the woke aether that it's like starting to disintegrate into, period.
Yeah.
Or George Lucas said, fuck all of you. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to burn the scripts that I have in a safe deposit box, and you'll never know how the saga ends. And that would be one of life's greatest mysteries that I could live with, compared to like watching the slow erosion of the Disney machine with Kathleen Kennedy at the helm, period.
Amen. Amen to that.
Both of those options would have been better to me. And I don't know, because I got, my problem, and we talked about this briefly, but like my problem with the Marvel piece is I don't connect to the Marvel characters that they're introducing in this new block. Yeah, I've never heard of these comics before. Literally, Moon Knight, I had never even heard of. Stuff like that, right? Loki and that weird, Owen Wilson bending series. I don't follow this, and it's dumb, and Loki's not one of my favorite characters. Love Tom Hiddleston to death. Yeah. Don't really resonate with Loki. Didn't give a shit. Still don't. WandaVision, really cool concept. Great. Don't care about her character. I don't. I just, like, I knew who Spider-Man was, and I know who the X-Men are. You know what I mean? And like Deadpool, I was aware of, and that's fun how they're like sidetracking that a little bit. But that's why I'm burned out on the Marvel stuff. I don't know. I don't resonate with, Shang-Chi and the Eternals, and I don't fucking know any of these people. Like, they weren't maybe as popular comic books. Maybe that's why they didn't hit my radar, but I have no idea.
Yeah, they're pulling from the deep bench on Marvel because they're looking for, and they're really taking from a lot of the 70s era when they were doing the blaxploitation and like the kind of kung fu era. Yeah. And there was a lot of diversity being pumped into it. So that's kind of their prime era where they're like, this is where we're going to draw from now so that we can inject it into modern society. But it was a lot of like Shang-Chi and stuff like that came from that era. And Blade did too, but Blade was awesome because they didn't make it about the diversity of Blade. They made it about a vampire hunter. Right. Instead of what his purpose was in culture, Right. And so, and that's what people want. They want superhero movies. They want vampire killers. They want that kind of stuff. They don't want all of this. And they're pulling from the deep bench when they've actually got a couple of, and of course, Sony and a bunch of other things became problematic for some of their bigger franchises like the Fantastic Four, which Sony's messed up a couple of times now,
Right.
but they haven't been able to use it for the Disney Marvel universe because they've had to wait for licenses to expire and such. Same thing with the X-Men and all that. But when you're looking at just the generalized Marvel universe, they're really pulling from the deep bench, and they shouldn't be. There's a bunch of the new Black Panther, the newest Black Panther movie, which I did not watch.
I didn't see
but
it
it
either.
has Namor in it. And Namor, the Submariner, was a huge character. He's one of their bigger characters. He was one of their first characters. He's the oldest Marvel character. Even before Captain America, before the Avengers, everything, Namor was actually one of the first characters. 1939, I believe, is when he came out. They finally got around to him and made him like this completely different character where he was like not from Atlantis. He was like Mayan, some type of Mayan, So they switched him up and made him completely unrelatable to the people who grew up with him,
Yeah.
the people who've been reading his comic books for, 6 decades. Like, what do you want from people?
Right.
And, do you want their money? Because that's kind of what the point of this is for you. Give us good stories, we give you cash. And they go, tell you what, give us all your cash, and we're not going to give you anything that you want. It becomes a non-transactional deal after a while. And that's what they've been doing with not only Marvel, but Star Wars for now going on a decade. There was a solid golden era of Marvel movies and Star Wars movies that is long gone now, going into 10 years, that people are like, I tried for 5 of those years
Right.
to hold on to hope that something good was going to turn back around when you guys started seeing the mistakes you were making. But now we're another 5 years deep almost, and I'm done. I haven't watched anything on Disney or anything from Marvel. The last thing I watched was the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I did see the Eternals, did not enjoy it.
Same. That was the
And
last
then
one I
after that-
tuned into. I think I saw
But anything
Shang-Chi,
else?
but that was it. That was the last one.
I don't think I've seen any of the other ones. Like, I used to take my kids to every Star Wars thing, watch all the Star Wars things together. I took them to every Marvel movie. I have not taken them to any of them lately. None of them, because I just they don't care. And
Yeah.
if generationally, if you're trying to say that it's a generational thing, you're wrong, because my kids are the generation that you're supposed to be catering to,
Right.
and they don't give a shit, and I don't either. So who is your audience at this point? If it's not the generation that started off with it all,
Yeah,
and it's
like-
not this generation, who's your audience?
I think it's hard enough to cater to an audience that it's like, okay, look, if we're leveraging, and I definitely understand the time marker you're talking about with like the blaxploitation era of some of these comics popping up and stuff like that, in this period of time in as a cultural point. I completely understand how difficult a job it is to revitalize a character that was fun and modernize the story to connect with the new audience if you've identified who your new audience is, but not to illustrate their purpose in society and how it coexists with the inclusion and diversity of all of the other characters that like
Right.
again with the overt, like this is obvious and
Well,
it stinks because
people
it's bad
always-
storytelling, because we
Right,
come
and
to this
people-
place to escape from shit like that.
Absolutely. And that people will argue that even during, the X-Men and all of those, that 70s era, and
Yeah.
even some before that there was politics involved and there was these social things involved, and they're not wrong. That actually was true.
Yeah.
But people didn't come to them for that. It was the added storyline
Right.
that you got to learn, social lessons within the context of superhero battles. The kids came for the superhero battles. They didn't want to learn about racism within those books. They got to a little bit,
Yeah.
here and there, but it was not the point of it. The point of it was we got to watch the X-Men kick ass. We did not at all, even though it was a kind of a metaphor for outsiders in society, whether it be gay,
Right.
whether it be, racially motivated or whatever, that obviously those underlying kind of concepts were there, but it wasn't the point of it.
Right.
And now it's reversed it.
It's
Where,
the
like,
augmentation to help characterize either the protagonist or the environment or the story in general. Now it is
Right.
the fucking premise. And it's like,
Yeah.
and it's overt, and it's like pretty not fun to watch, because if you're trying to see past that, like I'm trying to see past that to find something positive in it, and the
Yeah.
only thing I can rave about are the special effects, we're in deep trouble. Because like it's a basic story, and it's one that does not make sense. This girl is not going to find a way to kill the 2 Jedi Masters that she's killed so far under any circumstance, based on the level of power, effort, training, and like it's not going to happen. And it's happened twice in 2 episodes, and we're moving on to the 3rd one, and I'm just not in it. What I'm going to do before, because we've got some gospel by Gen Z to read, I'm going to break the cardinal rule of podcasting right here. I have to show you this because it's that special, but it's in the other room. So I'm going to break away from the camera to grab this, and then I'm going to share it with you because I totally forgot, or I would have prepped for it. So I'll be right back. Entertain the people. You're live on YouTube.
Live on YouTube. Wow. So yeah, Marvel, has a special place in my heart. So since we were talking about Marvel and Star Wars, Star Wars, as everybody knows me and knows me enough to know that Star Wars was kind of my jam my whole life since I was 2 years old. But Marvel also had a bit of a huge impact in my life. So you're already back.
I'm
I
back.
was going to go on some diatribe about Marvel.
Oh, wonderful. I'm enthralled.
I was making it up as I went, so didn't matter.
Our friend, and I'll plug him here, he hosts a very popular, extremely popular podcast called Trekcast. He and his friends were gifted Trekcast after they decided to disband it. Big Star Trek nerd. Love him to death. He's been a friend of mine since I was a wee small boy child. His name's Dan Reyes, and he's one of the coolest dudes you're ever going to get to know.
Oh, yeah.
This guy went to a Trek convention last week or the week before in New York City, or Long Island is where he went. I guess that's still New York City. He did a live podcast there. He interviewed a bunch of people from the Paramount stack that were doing work with various Star Trek shows. Are you familiar with Michelou Sisti?
No.
Okay, great. He sends me something in the mail that has a $25 sticker on it. This is a 1991 movie star Michelangelo, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh.
And it says, "To Angel Cowabunga, Michelou Sisti." Michelou Sisti was the actor that was the puppeteer in the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Secret of the Ooze. It was actually Mikey, and this man found this is his turtle, found a movie star Mikey from this era stack in New York City, and during the panel had Michelou Sisti sign it, and they talked for quite a while about what life was like on the set back then, why there was a few fuck ups between, it was like Raph's voice but Mikey's body, right? Because that actor was afraid of heights, and so they're like, the kids are never going to know, so they put me up there. Like all of the deep cut stuff, he was like, this is incredible. He's like, my buddy would love this. So he actually autographed it and sent it to me in the mail. He's like, hey dude, I sent you something
amazing.
He's like, I sent you something that might need some explaining. And I opened it and I was like, no, it doesn't. I know exactly who this is. That's fucking awesome. And so, yeah,
I have fantastic.
I have
dude.
his turtle from the first movie, and it's autographed by Michelou Sisti, who's the actual puppeteer in both the first 2 movies for exactly this turtle.
Wow.
And that just came through the other day, and I thought that was fucking rad. So I wasn't a big X-Man guy. I was kind of a Ninja Turtles guy, but
you were always a Ninja Turtles guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, shout out to Reyes.
Dude, that was a huge deep cut serendipity stars aligning moment. And I'm like, why is he there? He's like, right, because he's working on like Star Trek stuff now and doing some character work, some voice stuff, and producing a few things. And like, he saw that and was like, yes, I'll sign that. That's incredible. And he's like, I found a movie star Mikey, which was his turtle, and I got him to sign it for you. So there you go. And I was like, this is going to get framed in a glass box, which has already been ordered. So I thought that was super cool.
Yeah,
Anyway.
super cool. Let me expand upon that a little bit. Just because of Star Trek, because of Reyes, because of collectibles, I'm actually trying to sell something right now. So if anybody's listening, who's into Star Trek collectibles, who wants really rare stuff, and I have, and I've had it for a long time, and I've just been sitting on it because I like Star Trek, but I don't love Star Trek like I love Star Wars.
Right.
So this was an investment situation for me. But I have the entire 61 issue Gold Key original Star Trek comic book series from the late 60s to early 70s. It was 61 issues. I have every single one of them. And I've been holding on to it. But the first two issues 1 and 2, are both graded, CGC graded. And the entire series, I would say, averages about a 6.5. So not terrible condition, but not super great condition, but just right in the middle. Like a good 6.57, I would say, is what the overall condition of the entire series is. However, the first two are CGC graded, but the first one, the number 1, is actually the specialty cover, which has no ads on the back. It has a photo of Kirk on the back. And it is also signed, and it's CGC qualified for the signatures by William Shatner and George Takei. So I've been holding on to this because both of the dudes are in their late 80s to early 90s.
Yeah.
And I've just been and not that I want them to die, but I've been kind of holding out for these two guys to pass away because right now, this book, the first book, the number 1, is already probably about a $2,500 book in and of itself.
Yeah.
But then with the entire series attached to it as a collector's item, you're probably looking at about between $7,000 and $8,000 right now. The minute those two gentlemen pass away, that book is going to skyrocket into the, $10,000 to $15,000 range. So we're looking at, a huge incremental jump from when those two guys pass away. I am looking to sell to somebody special who actually loves this kind of stuff and loves Star Trek and has wants rare collectibles for $4,000. I have a $4,000 price tag, and I will absolutely give it away for $4,000, which is already about half of what it's currently worth. But once
it's going to go way up.
Way up.
So Modern Relics Podcast at gmail.com. If you're interested in picking that up, because that's huge.
And I'll ship it to you. So, but if you're somewhere in the country, I have no problem doing that. And I used to deal in comic books for many years. And so I know how to properly ship books as well. So it will be my pleasure to ship them to wherever you want them to go. But yeah, if you email us, they're yours. I'm probably going to be taking them with me on the trip because I'll probably have a couple of places down in Vegas or that area that I've got a couple of leads on. So, but if you want to hit me up before I take them down there and sell them, it's up to you. So, but yeah.
Reach out, let us know.
So thanks for letting me plug that.
Yeah, of course.
It's just something. Outside of that, also, I need some spiritual healing. I need some uplifting words. I need something that will take me from the stresses of this world, of bad AI, and of a move that was super stressful and what's going on in the world right now. I need some encouragement. I need some uplifting words from, I think, the best source available that can be provided from that.
That's right. I think we'll turn to the wise words of the gospel by Gen Z. I did do homework. I know where we left off from the last episode, believe it or not.
Awesome.
We're at chapter 10. This is Wedding at Cana.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus and the boys were invited to a promposal celebration, and his mother Mary was too. And for a while it was bussin', but they started to run out of wine. So Mary spilled the tea to Sacred Blood, and he said, "Bruh, I thought I was feeling you." But low key, he was in fact feeling her, and was merely speaking in cursive, so that if you know, you know. So he entered his miracles era, and was ready to get all the spiritual smoke. Then Mary went and told the servants to let him cook, for she understood the assignment. Then Jesus told them to pour some water into cups, and then told the water to be extra. And the water said, "Bet." When they all drank, the master of ceremonies said, "This bride and groom passed the vibe check, for normally a couple serves mid-wine last, but not gonna lie, this wine absolutely slaps." For he didn't know that the holy bro secured that bag for them, but the servants had the tea from then on. Legend has it she's still letting him cook to this day. That's chapter 10. Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Right.
But what's really weird is I've come to find through this series that we're running through on this book, and I don't know if it's disturbing or not, but I find that I understand what they're talking about because of the context of it being biblical context.
Yeah.
It is making me understand the Gen Z lingo, and now it feels like I'm kind of learning another language as we go.
Doesn't it?
So that way, when now I'm out in the real world in public, when I hear these things, I actually go, I'm too old to understand that dumb nonsense. Like, what is that? What does bet mean? What is, like speaking in cursive, like all of because of the contextualization of it being to these biblical stories that I'm familiar with, I'm like, oh, I get exactly what they're saying. And I don't know if that bothers me or not, but now I can actually apply it to real life stuff outside, and it's really weird.
I almost want to do a twofer this week, because part 3, the grind, begins with the Beatitudes.
Do it, because we missed last.
We've missed
let's
go.
Week, so
you guys ready for a twofer?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's also cook. Here's the Beatitudes. Then Jesus entered his preaching era and started streaming. And when the chat filled up, he began to cook, saying, "W to those who aren't thirsty for this midlife, for they shall have their best life. W to those who take L's from this life, for they will receive an everlasting W. W to those who don't do others dirty, for they shall secure the eternal bag. W to those who want help passing God's vibe check, for he will say bet. W to those who don't cancel others, for they will not be canceled by the top G. W to those who have holy riz, for they shall pull the Holy Spirit. W to those who turn ops into bros, for they shall be called the CEOs of peace. W to those who catch hands for being valid, for they will not be left on red by God. W to you when the ops be capping hard, and you do so very dirty because you're my fam. Trust, you have crushed it and have the eternal W, for they treated all the real ones of old, and the chat spammed W and said, "Go off, king," because his teachings went hard. Thus blood began to trend.
That was amazing. Wow.
Oh my God, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad and it's good. So, man, I think that's it for this week, but sounds to me like you're going to be in my neck of the woods by the time we do this again. So
I can't wait, man. I'm packing nothing but tank tops, maybe a Hawaiian shirt, one or two.
Yeah.
And some sandals, and yeah.
Every time I look at the little ticker for the temperature ticker, it says heat warning and near record, and it's been saying that every day since the end of May. So it's a hot one. But I can't wait to see you. Sorry we missed y'all on the internet for a few weeks. It's life on life's terms. But again, if you want to reach out for questions, comments, concerns, or Star Trek collectibles now, modernrelicspodcast@gmail.com. I expect we're going to get an email from a potential guest here pretty soon too. More on that offline. We got a lot more coming. The world keeps turning. We're excited to bring it to you. We'll probably see you next week in person.
Awesome. Can't wait. Thanks, guys.
See ya.